Good Saturday morning. Welcome to episode 46 of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. I'm Tom Moore, the host, recording live from the studio of Farmers Electric Cooperative in Clovis, New Mexico. We are sneaking up on a year's worth of podcast. That's crazy. Episode 46, so that's 46 weeks out of 52, so we're coming up on it quick. That's 23 hours of programming, 46 shows at 30 minutes each. And I hope if you're listening to any one of our platforms, YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, that you're liking, sharing, and following, if that's possible on all those platforms. I know it's possible on some, but particularly YouTube, I believe you can like and share and follow. We do have a YouTube channel. So, a week from now, Saturday, July 4th, the United States officially celebrating 250 years of independence. Pretty exciting times. So today, it might be a little bit shorter show. I don't have this day in history. Next week, I will have this day in history since it's such a momentous day. 250 years, yeah, that's crazy. So I remember well the 200th bicentennial of the United States. So that was 1776. I would have been 11 years old, but I do recall it fondly. We had a lot of things going on in school celebrating it, and then of course all summer long after school. Particularly on July 4th, Independence Day, was something to remember for sure. So hopefully there's a lot of young people out there, middle-aged people, and people, a little older that will appreciate that, the great experiment, the United States. And it's not like we haven't had our challenges. We've gone through. Oh, shoot, the War of 1812. Well, we had this, the American Revolution. We had the War of 1812. We had smaller wars in between. We had the Civil War in, 1860, give or take, to 65. And then we had Mexican-American War in there sometime, the Spanish-American War. Then we had two world wars. World War I and World War II, and of course, the Korean conflict, the Vietnam conflict, and then of course, everything that's happened since the early '90s in the Middle East. Quite a bit of things going on for almost 35 years now in the Middle East, and most recently, our little operation in Iran, which lasted about 2 months and is on hold for now, I guess. But anyway, we don't want to do a disservice to all these, Americans that have died to protect our country and what it stands for and the freedoms that we enjoy as Americans. And I'm seeing a little bit of this in politics where they're chipping away at a lot of our fundamental rights and freedoms. And I don't like it. I see a lot of it coming from the progressive left. And now you've got, full-blown democratic socialist running and winning in some parts of the country. So it's kind of scary, I worry a bit about not so much me or my wife, but it's our children and our grandchildren. We don't have grandchildren yet, but we hope to someday. And, what are we going to leave them with? What will be our legacy to them? I think I grew up in a very, very good time. I was a child of the 70s, late 60s and early 70s into the 80s, graduating in early 80s from high school. And, man, I tell you what, I look back on that and I kind of wish that that time for my kids. And anytime I ever get nostalgic and start talking about it with my children, they say, "Wow, we we wish we would have grown up in those times." And I think they've got a point. Times were simpler. Anyway, so much for that. It's almost 6 minutes after the hour. So today I'd like to talk about the 4th of July and Independence Day and how to celebrate safely. Also, it's thunderstorm season. We've had, over the last few days, quite a bit. My wife and we've got a pool, and we put a lot of work into that pool. It's a gunite concrete pool, and it's probably 20 years old. So when we moved into this old farmhouse, it had a pool, and we thought, this is a challenge, but let's do what we can to get it up and running. And we had to do we put metal staples in, concrete, epoxy. Then we completely resurfaced it with plaster. And this is my wife and I. We're not spring chickens. So it was probably the most difficult physical thing I'd ever done in my life. And we did that initial work about 8 years ago. But wow, how exciting. And, that we had a pool. We were kids that grew up going to the public pool. Our families couldn't afford to have a pool of our own. And we didn't know anyone that had a pool either. So we spent a lot of time in the public pool. And, it's nice to just walk out in your backyard and jump in if you want to, especially on these warm days. But anyway, our initial work has kind of worn off, and it was time for a resurfacing job. Now, I don't mean 100% new plaster or anything like that. We patched some, but we used an epoxy primer, white. It was Olympic brand, I believe. And then within 72 hours, we were supposed to have our top coat on, which is also a white epoxy paint and basically it just encases all the plaster in almost like a plastic shell. And it looks unbelievable. My wife has put in a tremendous amount of effort. I didn't get to work with her yesterday, and the weather was bad on Thursday. And I'm getting to a point here. I'm actually going somewhere with this story. But we had thunderstorms and Wednesday night and Thursday night, so it kept us from finishing. But we were still within that 72-hour window that we had to have in order for the epoxy paint to adhere to the epoxy primer. But our thunderstorms were a lot of bark and not much bite. I've said that before. We experience a lot of thunderstorms in eastern New Mexico and far west Texas. And oftentimes it sounds like it's gonna be a gully washer, and we get, they say in Texas a 2-inch rain, or eastern New Mexico, a 2-inch rain is where the raindrops are 2 inches apart. And that's what we kind of experienced last night. And then, not last night, when was it? No, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Last night we were able to finish it, and largely because my wife worked. She's a retired school teacher. She worked all morning and painted herself basically into a corner, but left her escape route. But I went home yesterday evening and finished off, I don't know, it was probably 100 square feet, but not bad, 10 feet by 10 feet. But anyway, our thunderstorms, we have a lot of those around here, and we're going to spend a little time on how to protect your sensitive electronics. Our homes are filled with sensitive electronics these days, and they're an investment, and you probably don't, the TVs anymore. When I was growing up, you had a TV, and they were expensive appliances, and if they broke, you had a TV repairman. I don't think there's a TV repairman out there, and if there is, let me know, and I will share that. But TVs have basically become a disposable appliance, kind of like an iron or, a toaster or something like that. They're a little more expensive, obviously, than those, but, you can get I was in a big box store not long ago, and I saw 65-inch name brand television, LED 4000K, really nice state of the art. It was like $258. And I'm like, I remember this. My parents couldn't afford much. And my mom had been hearing these commercials, and it was Curtis Mathis. And it was kind of funny. The guy was like, I think their tagline was Curtis Mathis, the most expensive television, but darn well worth it. And she just felt like she had to spoil herself. She'd worked hard her entire life. She was nearing retirement, and she bought a Curtis Mathis. But it was like a 24-inch console television. It was like, and this is back in the maybe mid-'80s, and it was like $600. I don't know what that is in today's dollars, but it'd be a lot. I think it'd be safe to say it'd be about $1,200 now. But anyway, let's get on with this. I've put together some notes, and first of all, we're going to talk about celebrating the 4th of July or Independence Day safely, and then we'll get into the thunderstorm safety as far as sensitive electronics go. Celebrating the 4th of July can be a lot of fun. We know that. A little planning goes a long way towards keeping the day safe. And again, that's next Saturday, a week from today. Here are some practical tips. Fireworks safety. And there's a lot of towns around Farmers Electric service area, eastern New Mexico and far west Texas, that have banned fireworks because it's very dry and just don't want to be the cause of wildfire. So be mindful of that and be mindful of your local laws and that kind of thing. But if fireworks are legal where you live and you choose to use them, follow all local laws and the manufacturer's instructions. Keep a bucket of water or a garden hose nearby before lighting anything. Light only one firework at a time and then move away. Never relight a firework that doesn't go off. Wait at least 20 minutes, then soak it thoroughly in water before disposing of it properly. Keep fireworks away from dry grass, brush, and other flammable materials. Never allow young children to handle fireworks. Even sparklers can burn at temperatures hot enough to cause severe injuries. And I know that because I've touched one of those after it was extinguished. I didn't have any idea that it would continue to burn. And what that means is, burn your skin. Consider attending a professional fireworks display instead of using consumer fireworks at home. We've got a big show scheduled for Saturday, July 4th next week in Clovis. Anyway, there's going to be a parade and all kinds of activities. I'm not sure what time the parade is, but then that evening at Green Acres Park, there's going to be some bands and some live music, a bunch of vendors, food trucks, and then probably starting around 9 o'clock Mountain Time, the big fireworks show. And it's supposed to be, they went above and beyond, and it's supposed to be spectacular given the 250th anniversary. Grilling safety. A lot of people like to grill on the 4th of July, and I'm one of those. Place grills outdoors on flat surface, well away from homes, decks, railings, and overhanging branches. Never leave a hot grill unattended. Use long-handled grilling tools and oven mitts to help prevent burns. Keep raw meat separate from cooked food and use a food thermometer to ensure meat reaches a safe internal temperature. Clean grease buildup from grills to reduce the risk of flare-ups. Just ask my wife about flare-ups. I think it was about a month ago she was giving me a break from the outdoor cooking, which is usually my realm, but she's gotten pretty good at it. And lo and behold, we look out there and we're like, the grill's on fire. It wasn't actually the grill, but it looked like it was on fire. And some of the grease in the grease trap had caught on fire. So make sure you're taking care of that. Heat and sun protection. Drink plenty of water throughout the day, especially if you're outdoors. Wear sunscreen with broad spectrum protection. I think if you have a 50 SPF, you're probably okay. I heard once from a dermatologist that anything beyond 50 isn't doing you any more good than a 50. So 50 should suffice. But make sure you reapply it every 2 hours. more often if you're swimming or sweating, which I do both now that we've got that swimming pool up and running. And I tend to sweat a lot when I'm outside, particularly when it's 100 degrees out, and I hope you guys probably too. That's the body's way of cooling. That's evaporative cooling in action. That's your body's way of cooling yourself down. Sweat, and then the wind or the breeze makes it evaporate quickly, and it'll cool you off. Wear a hat, sunglasses, and lightweight clothing. Take breaks in the shade or air conditioning during the hottest part of the day. Water safety. For those of you that go to the lake or the rivers or your swimming pool, never leave children unattended near pools, lakes, or rivers, not even for a moment. Wear a properly fitted life jacket when boating or participating in water sports. And, we have several reservoirs that we serve, man-made reservoirs in a Farmers Electric Service area. We've got Fort Sumner Lake. They just call it Sumner Lake. We've got Ute Lake in Logan. We've got Santa Rosa Lake. Those are all three man-made reservoirs that attract a lot of boating activity and swimming, and they'll be so busy next week they're going to be busting at the seams. So be careful. Let's see. Make sure for sure that children and weaker swimmers are wearing properly fitted life jackets. Avoid swimming alone. That's never a good idea. And of course, I thought this was a bigger deal growing up. And, when I was a kid, I thought, having to wait 30 minutes before swimming was going to be a bigger deal. And it may be. I've never tested it because I'm too afraid that you would get cramps in your stomach and it would pull your head under the water and you could possibly drown. That's the whole idea behind that waiting. So I would, if I were you, I would continue to practice that 17 minutes after the hour. Food safety. Keep cold foods cold below 40 degrees Fahrenheit and hot foods hot above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Refrigerate perishable foods within 2 hours of serving or within 1 hour if the temperature is above 90 degrees. Like if you have potato salad outside, you don't want to leave it out there very long. You want to make sure and put that up. Wash hands before preparing or eating food when possible, particularly if you've handled any of the raw meat. Make sure you're not spreading that bacteria. And it's invisible, but it's a killer. It'll make you sick if you don't clean properly. Alcohol and transportation. If you drink alcohol, arrange a designated driver or use rideshare or taxi. I don't know if we've got taxis anymore around here, but we have Uber, and I think we have, I forget the other one. Never operate a boat or other recreational vehicle while impaired. Okay, that's a big one because I know there's a lot of folk out there that think, oh, I'm out in the hot sun, it'll keep me sober, blah, blah, blah. Listen, those are famous last words. Never operate a boat or other recreational vehicle, or any vehicle for that matter, while impaired. Stay aware of how alcohol and heat together can increase the risk of dehydration. Dehydration is a big deal, and I'm pretty cognizant of that right now. I've been drinking a lot more water, and I think it's actually helping with my acid reflux. And I think I've talked about this before on the show. There's one thing I drink at night, and because my acid reflux was bad. I mean, it would wake me up almost nightly. So I started doing things differently. We're 19 after, so we got a little time. I didn't eat anything after 8 o'clock, and now I've moved that to 7. Certainly didn't drink any coffee. Nothing acidic in my meal at night. And I hate it because I love pizza, and the pizza sauce, the tomato sauce, is acidic. But I've kind of cut that out in the evening meal anyway. I eat bland at nighttime. I try to stay away from dairy products at nighttime, except for kefir. Kefir you can find it in the yogurt section of your grocery store, your favorite grocery store. And it is fermented milk. Sounds gross, but it actually tastes good. It's a little tart, but it's flavors like a blueberry, 1% milk fat, blueberry, strawberry banana, vanilla, and a few other flavors out there, unflavored. I think they call it plain. And the plain is good. But I sweeten a little bit with like a half a sweet and low packet and makes it really good. But I only drink about 6 ounces. So, I mean, I'm not chugging the stuff. I'm just sipping on it. And then I've actually been trying to stay a little more hydrated, drinking at least probably 64 ounces of water a day. And I haven't experienced any acid reflux for some time now. I mean, I just dawned on me this yesterday morning. I mentioned to my wife. I said, "Hey, I actually ate late, Thursday night, and I didn't experience any acid reflux." And I was really surprised. But then I thought back, what have I been doing? Well, the kefir, yes, but then I also thought I've been staying hydrated, so I thought maybe that has something to do with it too. So those two things have helped me, folks. Keeps me off the meds too. I was at the doctor the other day, eye doctor, but they were asking me what meds I was on. I told them, well, I'm on, preventive seasonal allergy medicine daily during allergy season, and that's it. And they look at a guy that's a little older and gray haired, and they think, that's it? That's all? And I said, so the technician continued to name things. And I said, listen, let's just cut to the chase. I don't take anything except for this allergy medicine. And then I mentioned the kefir and that kind of thing. I try to educate as many people as I can about it. 21 after the hour. Pet safety. Keep pets indoors during fireworks if possible, as loud noises can be frightening. We've noticed that in our puppy. I say new puppy, our new dog. She's 2.5 years old, but she seems like a puppy. She acts like a puppy most of the time. But time is flying, and but loud noises seem to bother her. So keep those pets inside, kind of deaden the noise from all the fireworks. Make sure pets have ID tags or microchip in case they do get loose and get scared and run. Don't feed pets picnic foods, as that may be harmful, such as onions, grapes, chocolate, or food containing, what is this word? Xylitol? I don't even know what that is. I need to look that up. I found the fact, but then I didn't read through it. Plus, it's also hot outside, so make sure never to leave a pet unattended in a hot vehicle. That's bad. And not just pets, but of course children also. Children is the main ones not to leave, obviously unattended in a vehicle when it's super hot outside. So always look in the back seat, make sure your little one is going inside with you, or you've dropped him off. You don't want to make a mistake, a terrible mistake of leaving a child in a parked car. Also make sure your pets have plenty of water and shade if outside. So there's some things that you can think about for next Saturday. Thunderstorm seasons and protecting electronics from utility voltage transients. Now, we're not perfect here at Farmers Electric. Sometimes we have voltage issues, and let's talk about that a little bit. But thunderstorm season means what? More than lightning, right? Thunderstorms don't have to strike your home directly to damage electronics. Lightning can induce powerful voltage transients, also called surges, on utility power lines, cable systems, and telecommunication lines. Utility switching operation, down power lines, and restoration after outages can also create damaging voltage spikes or sags. Voltage is going up or sags. I found that sags probably damage more equipment that's operating, particularly electronics, than spikes. Because when your voltage sags, your current rises to try to compensate and keep that appliance or electronic operational. And when that current rises is when it really starts to burn things up. Today's homes contain thousands of dollars worth of sensitive electronics, from televisions and computers to HVAC controls, refrigerators, and smart home devices. What is voltage transient? It's exactly what it sounds like. Something that's here one moment and gone the next. A transient. Just like, you see these people walking around backpacks, and you might see them one week, and then next, hanging out on an intersection, and the next week they're gone. They're here one moment and gone the next. So a voltage transient is a very brief high-energy spike in voltage that rides on top of normal household electricity. Most surges or voltage spikes last only microseconds, but that's long enough to damage sensitive electronic components. Damage may be immediate or cumulative, shortening the life of equipment over time, and that is true. Devices most at risk. Make a list. If you have to, listen to this again. Computers and servers, televisions and home theater equipment, internet routers and modems, gaming consoles, smart appliances, HVAC control boards, security systems. And it's not just HVAC control boards, it's motors too. If a motor's running and you get some transient coming through, voltage transient, it's going to mess it up, particularly over time. Medical devices used at home. So how can you protect these things? Layers of protection work best. Think of surge protections as a layered defense. Number one, whole home surge protective devices. They call them SPDs. Installed at the electric service panel. Some are designed to be installed directly behind the meter in the socket. I've seen those. Protects the entire home from large incoming surges or voltage transients, especially valuable in areas with frequent thunderstorms. That'd be us. Typical install cost is $200 to $600 depending on the electrical panel and labor. Many utilities and insurance companies recommend whole home protection, and that's what we do. We say, we believe in layers, protection at the panel or the meter can, the socket, and then at the device as well. Quality point of use surge protection. That's what I mean by at the device. Use surge protecting power strips, not ordinary power strips. You need to look for these things. UL 1449 listing, protection indicator light, warranty or connected equipment guarantee, sufficient joule rating, 1,000 to 2,500 plus joules for most electronics. Affordable, well-regarded options include products from, here's some brand names for you, APC. That's what we use at work for the most part. I think we may have some Leviton too. Triplite, Belkin, Eaton, and of course I already mentioned Leviton. Many quality surge strips cost $20 to $60. Not bad when you could be saving thousands of dollars worth of electronics. Battery backup, UPS, uninterruptible power source is what that stands for. It doesn't stand for the big brown van that drives into your driveway and drops things off. I promised Glenn I'd use that, and this was the only opportunity I had. I know that wasn't that funny, but I did it anyway because Glenn, that's his drums. He does the intro and the outro, but he also does I don't know what you call that. Ba-da-boom. Let's just call it ba-da-boom. Anyway, I promised I'd use it, so I did. There you go, Glenn. Glenn's our IT manager here at Farmers Electric. 28 after, I need to hurry up a little bit. Battery backup, UPS, uninterruptible power source for computers and networking equipment, provides surge protection plus battery backup. So it will sense a voltage drop and it will continue to operate your computer or whatever you're working on, sensitive electronics, till you can safely turn those off. The battery backup is not a long time. It could be maybe up to 20 minutes, but it gives you time to save whatever you might be working on. And it prevents data loss during those outages and gives time to save work and shut down safely. Reliable consumer UPS systems are available from APC, CyberPower, Eaton, starting around $80 and as high as $200. What surge protectors cannot do? No surge protector can guarantee protection from a direct lightning strike. Extremely large lightning events may overwhelm even the best protective device. Layered protection greatly reduces risk but does not eliminate it. Best practices during a thunderstorm. If severe thunderstorms are approaching and are practical, unplug valuable electronics that are not in use. My wife and I always make it a practice to turn off our AC and unplug our television during thunderstorms. Okay? Or if we see a blink from the utility, which is our utility. I live on our system, but like I said, we're not perfect. So if I see a device operating, opening up a circuit and closing, I know that over time that could be hard on whatever's operating. So my wife or I will turn off the AC for the most part because we don't want the electronics messed up, and we certainly don't want the motor either messed up. Disconnect cable, TV, or Ethernet lines if equipment is especially valuable, since surges can enter through communication lines as well as power lines. Wait until the storm has passed before reconnecting equipment. Don't forget other connections. We talked about this a little bit, but surges don't always enter through electrical outlets. Consider protecting cable TV coax lines, telephone lines, Ethernet connections, satellite system wiring. A quality whole house protection system addresses power, while properly grounded communication line protectors help protect other entry points. Here's a few key takeaways from protecting your sensitive equipment during thunderstorms. Thunderstorms create more than power outage. They create damaging voltage transients. Layered protection is the most effective strategy. Number 1, whole house surge protection. Again, that's at the panel or behind the meter. Number 2, quality surge protecting power strips. Point of use. Number 3, UPS units for computers and critical electronics. UPS is uninterruptible power source, so that's got the battery backup. Quality protection is relatively inexpensive compared to replacing damaged electronics. Spending a few $100s on protection can help safeguard thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 32 after the hour. I really appreciate your patience today. Happy 4th of July. If you don't get to listen to the show next week, but we're going to do a special show for the 4th of July, America's 250th anniversary. Thank you for listening to this episode of Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. We'll see you next week.